Welcome to Cosmic Rankings, where we take your SEO game to new heights. In this podcast, we'll help you navigate the wild world of AI-driven search without the fluff. From ranking in AI overviews to mastering long-tail keywords, we're giving you the tools to stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a digital marketing pro or just starting out, we have insights you won't want to miss. So buckle up. It's time to dominate AI-powered search. This is Cosmic Rankings.
Cosmic Rankings.
Cosmic Rankings.
This is Cosmic Rankings.
This is Cosmic Rankings. Let's go.
10,
9,
8, 7,
6,
5,
4,
3,
2.
1.
blast off.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about video podcasts today.
I love those.
Yeah, and we're going to be specifically looking at, how they can be useful in the manufacturing industry.
Okay, cool.
And we've got a really great article here from Exponent 21 that we're going to be taking a look at today.
Sounds good.
So this is a leading agency that is working in the video podcast space. And they've got some really interesting thoughts on why CMOs and CEOs need to be using video podcasts.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a good way for them to really get their message out there and connect with people, on a more personal level.
Right. And it's interesting because they have the CEO of Exponent 21, Will Melton. He actually gives some advice in this article.
Oh, cool.
So we'll definitely be taking a look at what he has to say. But I think it would be good to kind of start off with the why.
Yeah.
Like, why is this so important now? Why do manufacturing leaders need to be thinking about video podcasts?
It's so competitive these days. In the manufacturing landscape, everybody's online. Everybody's trying to stand out.
Yeah, you really got to have a good digital presence.
Exactly. Your digital presence is everything. And I think video podcasts are a great way to do that.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but I think it might be good to step back for a second.
Sure.
And just kind of define what exactly a video podcast.
Okay, so it's kind of like a regular podcast, but with video.
Oh, type.
So you're recording conversations, you're having interviews, but people can see you.
So they can see your face and see your expressions and all that.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
much more engaging than just audio.
Yeah, I can see how that would be really helpful for explaining complex topics or, like you said, showcasing personalities.
Yeah, and especially in manufacturing, you're often dealing with very technical stuff.
Right.
So being able to actually show what you're talking about can be really helpful.
So it's not just about being fancy. It's about actually conveying information more effectively.
Exactly, and it's also about building relationships. People can see who they're doing business with.
Right. It creates that human connection.
Yeah, and then there's the SEO advantage.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Search engines love video content. So if you have a video podcast that's well optimized, you're going to show up higher in search results.
So more people are going to find it.
Exactly. More traffic to your website, more leads.
So it sounds like video podcasts are kind of a content marketing powerhouse.
Yeah, they really are. You can create one video and then repurpose it into so many different things.
Oh, like what?
Blog posts, social media snippets, even shorter videos.
So it's like one piece of content can generate all this other content.
Yeah, it's like a content machine.
Okay, I'm convinced. Video podcasts are the way to go for manufacturing leaders.
I think so too.
But let's get into the specifics now.
Okay.
How do you actually make this happen? Exponent 21, they lay out a roadmap for launching a video podcast.
Yeah, they do. It seems pretty comprehensive.
It does. Where do we even begin?
Well, the first step is to define your objectives.
Okay, so figure out what you want to achieve with this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you trying to raise brand awareness, generate leads, position yourself as a thought leader?
Makes sense. You got to know where you're going before you start.
Right. Once you know your objectives, then you can start planning your content.
Okay, so what topics are you going to cover? Who are you going to interview?
Yeah. And what kind of format do you want to use?
I guess there are a lot of different ways to do a video podcast.
Yeah. You could have a solo host. You could have interviews. You could have panel discussions.
I'm starting to see how much goes into this.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just hitting record.
And then there's the whole production side of things. Making sure the audio and video quality is good.
You don't want to skimp on that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to look professional.
Yeah. First impressions matter. And, you also need to make sure your podcast is accessible.
Oh, yeah. So closed captions for people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Exactly. And transcripts can help with SEO, too.
Okay, so we've got our content planned, we've got it produced. Now we need to get it out there.
Right. Promotion is key. You got to let people know that your podcast exists.
So social media, email, newsletters, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And don't forget to track your results.
Right. You got to know what's working and what's not.
Exactly.
Right.
Use analytics to see how people are engaging with your content, and then you can adjust your strategy accordingly.
So it's all about continuous improvement.
It is. And I think this is a good point to circle back to Will Melton's advice.
Okay, yes. The CEO of Exponent 21. He had some interesting thoughts about leadership.
He strongly advocates for having the CEO or president be the host or a recurring guest.
Oh, that's interesting. Why is that?
Well, it really humanizes the brand.
I see people can connect with the person at the helm.
Exactly. It builds trust and credibility.
It's like they're getting a glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah, and it shows that the company is invested in this podcast.
But I imagine some CEOs might be hesitant. They're busy people.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, but Exponent 21, they have some tips for addressing that.
Like what?
Well, they emphasize streamlining the process, making it as easy as possible for the CEO to participate.
So like having a dedicated team to handle all the logistics.
Exactly, and preparing questions beforehand so the CEO doesn't have to come up with everything on the spot.
So it's all about making it as efficient as possible.
It is, and the ROI can be significant. Having the CEO involved can really elevate the podcast's impact.
It's got a stamp of approval.
Yeah, and it can also boost employee morale.
Oh, so?
Well, it shows that the company is invested in sharing its story and putting its best foot forward.
So it creates a sense of pride among employees.
Exactly, and it can even help attract top talent.
It's like a win-win all around.
It really is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the why, the how, the who.
We've even gotten some insider tips from a CEO.
Because there's still so much more to explore. In part 2, we're going to dive into some real-world examples of successful video podcasts in the manufacturing industry.
Ooh, I like that.
We're going to get even more tactical about how to make this work for you.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we spent part 1 really laying the foundation, understanding why video podcasts are such a powerful tool for manufacturers.
Right, and all the different benefits.
Exactly. But now I want to get into the how,
Okay.
how are companies actually using these things in the real world?
Well, I've got some good examples for you.
Okay, tell me everything.
So one that really stands out is this industrial equipment manufacturer. They launched a video podcast, and get this, they had their CEO as the host.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, and they focused on the future of automation.
So like a really cutting-edge topic.
Exactly. They brought in all sorts of guests, industry experts, researchers, even some of their own customers.
Smart to get those different perspectives.
And they saw some amazing results, like a huge spike in website traffic, tons of qualified leads, and they even said that the podcast helped them attract top talent.
So it's not just about marketing, it's about like overall brand building.
Right, exactly. And it really positions them as a thought leader in the automation space.
Okay, that's impressive. What other examples did you find?
Well, here's another one. This time, it's a sustainable packaging company.
Okay, interesting.
And they focused their video podcast series on their commitment to environmental responsibility.
That's a hot topic these days.
It is, and they did a great job of showcasing their company's values. They interviewed their team members, talked about their eco-friendly materials, even gave viewers a behind-the-scenes look at their manufacturing facility.
So they were really transparent about their processes.
Exactly, and it resonated with people. Their video podcast series went viral. They got a ton of media attention. It boosted their brand awareness and ultimately drove sales.
Wow, so they were able to turn their commitment to sustainability into a competitive advantage.
Yeah, they really did.
Okay, so we've seen some great examples now. Let's talk about SEO.
Right.
We touched on it briefly in part 1, but I think it's worth diving a little deeper, especially with all the advancements in AI.
Right. AI is changing everything these days.
It is. So how can manufacturers use AI to optimize their video podcasts?
Well, first of all, let's not forget the basics. Keyword research is still crucial.
Right. Got to know what people are searching for.
Exactly. And then you want to incorporate those keywords into your podcast titles, descriptions, even the conversations themselves.
But it's got to be natural. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to just stuff keywords in there.
Now, Google's too smart for that these days. They can tell when you're trying to game the system.
So focus on creating high-quality content that people actually want to watch.
Right. And then there's video optimization, making sure your videos are properly formatted, tagged, captioned.
Oh, those technical details.
Yeah, but they're important because it helps search engines understand what your videos are about, and it makes them more accessible to a wider audience. Right, like people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Exactly. And of course, you want to promote your video podcast on social media.
Right. Got to get the word out there.
Yeah, share engaging snippets, create eye-catching thumbnails, use relevant hashtags.
And don't forget about collaborating with other industry experts.
Right. Team up with influencers in your niche, cross-promote each other's content.
So it's all about working together.
Exactly, and that's where AI can really come in handy.
Okay, how so?
Well, there are all sorts of AI-powered tools that can help you with things like transcribing your episodes, generating show notes, and even creating social media posts.
Wow, so it can save you a ton of time.
It can, and some AI tools can even analyze your video footage to identify the most engaging moments.
Oh, cool. So you can create those little snippets that people love to share online.
Exactly, and it's only going to get more sophisticated as AI technology continues to evolve.
That's a little scary, but also exciting.
It is, but the bottom line is that AI can help you create better content and reach a wider audience. Okay, so all this sounds great, but I'm sure some people are wondering how much all this costs.
Yeah, the budget question is always a big one.
Right. You need equipment, editing software, maybe even a studio space.
And if you're partnering with an agency, that's an additional cost.
So how do you justify the investment?
Well, you have to think about the potential return on investment. A successful video podcast can generate leads, raise brand awareness, and ultimately drive sales.
And it's definitely more cost-effective than traditional marketing methods like print advertising.
Right, and a well-produced video podcast can continue to generate value for your company for years to come.
So it's like an asset that keeps on giving.
Exactly. But I know not everyone has a huge budget.
Right. So what if you're working with limited resources?
Well, you don't need to start with the most expensive equipment. There are plenty of affordable cameras and microphones out there that can produce great results.
And you can always upgrade later as your podcast grows.
Right. And if you have someone on your team who's comfortable with video editing, you can even learn to edit your own episodes.
So there are ways to make it work no matter what your budget is.
Exactly. The key is to focus on creating high-quality content that provides value to your audience.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something that's often overlooked, consistency.
Yes, you gotta stay consistent.
Why is that so important?
Well, it builds anticipation among your audience. It signals to search engines that you're a reliable source of content, and it helps you establish a rhythm and build momentum over time.
So how often should you release new episodes?
It really depends on your resources and the type of content you're creating, but the key is to find a frequency that you can realistically maintain.
Right, don't overcommit and then burn yourself out.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to experiment. You can always adjust your schedule as you go along.
Okay, so consistency is key, but what about the content itself?
Well, storytelling is essential.
Oh yeah, you got to make it engaging.
Exactly, you can have the best information in the world, but if you don't present it in a way that's relatable and interesting, people are going to tune out.
So how can manufacturers incorporate storytelling into their video podcasts?
Well, they can share customer success stories, give behind-the-scenes glimpses into their manufacturing process, or even have their team members share personal anecdotes.
So it's all about bringing the human element into it.
Exactly. People connect with stories. They want to see the people behind the brand.
Okay, so we've talked about consistency, we talked about storytelling. Any other advice before we wrap up this part?
Yes, one more thing. Don't think of video podcasting as a one-and-done tactic.
What do you mean?
It's an ongoing process. You need to continuously create new content, promote your podcast, engage with your audience, and analyze your results.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. You got to keep nurturing it, keep improving it, keep growing it.
Okay, I'm getting the picture now. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
But we're not done yet, are we?
Nope. We've got one more part to go.
That's right. In part 3, we're going to reveal a powerful framework for planning and launching your own successful video podcast.
Oh, can't wait.
We'll also share some insider tips for getting buy-in from your leadership team.
So make sure you come back for the grand finale.
All right, so we've talked about the why. We've seen some amazing examples, and we've even gotten into the nitty-gritty of SEO and AI.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But now it's time to bring it all together.
Okay.
Let's give our listeners a clear framework they can use to launch their own successful video podcast.
All right, sounds good.
So where do we begin?
Well, I think the first step is to really get clear on your purpose.
Okay, so like, what are you trying to achieve with this podcast?
Exactly. Are you hoping to position your company as a thought leader in the industry? Are you trying to generate leads, attract top talent?
It's all about defining those objectives.
Right. And once you know what you want to accomplish, then you can start thinking about your audience.
Okay, so who are you trying to reach with this podcast?
Exactly. What are their interests, their pain points? What kind of content would they find valuable?
You got to know who you're talking to.
Right. And once you have a good understanding of your audience, then you can start brainstorming content pillars.
Oh, content pillars. What are those?
These are like the overarching themes that will guide your episodes.
So like broad categories that align with your goals and your audience's interests.
Exactly. For example, let's say you're a company that specializes in 3D printing for manufacturing.
Okay.
Your content pillars might be the future of 3D printing case studies in 3D printing implementation and tips for optimizing 3D printing workflows.
Ah, I see. So it's like creating a roadmap for your content.
Right. It gives you structure and ensures that your podcast stays focused.
Okay, so we've got our purpose, we've got our audience, we've got our content pillars. What's next?
Well, now it's time to think about format. Do you want to have a solo host? Interviews, panel discussions.
Each format has its own pros and cons, right?
Exactly. A solo host can be great for sharing company updates or diving deep into a specific topic.
Right, and interviews are great for getting different perspectives.
Yeah, and panel discussions can be really dynamic and engaging.
So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Right. And once you've decided on a format, then you can start brainstorming episode ideas.
Okay, so like specific topics that you're going to cover.
Exactly. Look back at your content pillars and your audience research. What questions are people asking? What challenges are they facing? What would they be interested in learning more about?
And don't be afraid to get creative.
Right. Think outside the box, brainstorm with your team. Look at what your competitors are doing.
So once you have a list of potential episodes, what do you do next?
Well, you want to prioritize them based on their potential impact and feasibility. Some episodes might require more resources or planning than others.
Right. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
Exactly. And then it's time to start thinking about production.
Okay, so like the actual recording and editing.
Right. Do you have the in-house expertise to handle this, or would it make sense to outsource some or all of these tasks?
I imagine partnering with an agency like Exponent 21 could be really helpful here.
Yeah, they can handle everything from finding guests to editing the final product.
So it takes a lot of the stress out of the process.
It does, and it ensures that your podcast is high quality and professional.
Okay, so we've got our content planned, we've got our production figured out. What's next?
Well, now it's time to get buy-in from your leadership team.
Especially if you're hoping to involve the CEO.
Right. You need to make a strong case for why this is a valuable investment for the company.
So like how it can elevate the brand, generate leads, and position the company as a thought leader.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention the SEO benefits.
Right. A well-optimized video podcast can do wonders for your website traffic.
Yeah. And once you have buy-in from your leadership team, then you're ready to launch.
But the work doesn't stop there, does it?
No. You need to promote your podcast, share it on social media, embed it on your website, include it in your email newsletters.
Got to get the word out.
Right. And then you need to track your results, see what's working, what's not, and adjust your strategy accordingly.
So it's a continuous process.
It is, but if you're consistent and you focus on creating high-quality content that your audience will love, you'll be well on your way to success.
Well, there you have it, folks. A comprehensive framework for launching a successful video podcast.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have, but I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about and hopefully some actionable steps they can take to get started.
I think so too.
So if you're a manufacturing leader who's looking for a way to elevate your brand, connect with your audience, and achieve your marketing goals,
Video podcasting might just be the answer.
thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Cosmic Rankings. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on the latest SEO strategies. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave us a review and share the podcast with a colleague who could benefit. And if you're ready for more insights, be sure to check out our other episodes. We'll catch you next time.